Well, welcome to today's show. Today, I want to take you back to a season of my life where I was absolutely terrified of my own blood sugar. After my retinopathy diagnosis, the fear of high sugars got so deep into my bones that I started chasing perfect numbers every single day. I would check my CGM. Actually, back in those days, I didn't have a CGM. I had a glucometer, so it was a lot of finger pricks. Pre-bolusing to the exact minute, correcting those tiny spikes that weren't even dangerous, and I'd still go to bed feeling like I just didn't do enough that day. And here's the thing, my numbers weren't the problem. My perfectionism was, and my fear took over. And if you've ever felt like you're white knuckling your diabetes management, afraid to loosen your grip because something bad might happen, today's episode is for you, and we're going to unpack the 3 red flags that perfectionism is running your diabetes. And I'll share 2 mindset shifts that really helped me break free of this. And this isn't about letting go of your health, it's about letting go of what's stealing your peace and how it interrupts all areas of our life. So if you're ready to stop chasing perfect and start feeling in the driver's seat. I don't like the word control because I don't think we're ever in control of our diabetes, but we can do what we can to influence the outcome. And if you're ready to do this as well without feeling burned out, let's get into it. And before I dive in, I want to share something very exciting. My Type 1 in Midlife, we have a community. It is open for a 14-day free trial, so you can join our next group coaching session. We meet every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for an hour. You get to meet the other members, and we start off with a quick chat and check-ins around the room. Again, this is on Zoom, and you'll simply share your name, one intention for being here, and I'll guide it. So there's no pressure if and when you decide to come join us. And you get to come with share one challenge, or an area you'd love support on, and one change that would make your day-to-day life with diabetes easier. And that's it. You show up as you are. Learn more about the perks. You can learn more about the perks inside this monthly membership. And it includes a private session with me each month and ongoing support and resources. You can visit the show notes right here to join us and to see if this is going to be a good fit for you. Again, it's a free trial, 14 days, and then if you decide, it's a low monthly rate. If you have any questions, please reach out, but all the details are right here. The link is right here in the show notes. Again, Type 1 and Midlife membership. So I'm going to share my story. The retinopathy perfectionism spiral. Man, that's a big long title, isn't it? And believe me, when I was in it, I didn't give it a label like that. I just thought this is really how I had to kind of go through my day and the rest of my life with this disease. So let me take you back to those first months after my retinopathy diagnosis. That's really where this extreme just obsession, I think, with just having to be in good range all the time really took over. So it was when I was newly married. I was just 25 years old. So this is 10 years after my diagnosis. This was in 1992. So we didn't even have CGMs back then. So you can imagine all of the finger pricking I was doing with the glucometer in order to stay in tune with my blood sugar. But the diagnosis itself, it was a shock. I was afraid, imagining my worst case scenario for my vision, being told that if I didn't get that glucometer out, because in prior years I had a very hands-off approach to my diabetes, unfortunately. I was not educated or even supported in those days about how important it was to know my numbers and to be really, closer to what I was doing with my food and my insulin dosing and all of that. So I obviously ran very high for many years, and that is where this diagnosis happened. Again, just 10 years after my type 1 diagnosis. And I woke up, actually, I went to work that day. I worked in a clothing store in downtown where I worked while I was just finishing up college. And I noticed floaters in the back of my eye. Again, I never even had an eye exam. 25 years old, living with type 1, never even had my eyes checked. Again, completely just disconnected from really what my disease was all about. And told again I had diabetic retinopathy. I was very, very fortunate. I had an amazing doctor that immediately got me in. I had laser surgery done on both eyes. It was, I think, 2 sessions on each eye. Very painful, a little bit of a recovery on that. And luckily they were able to seal up those vessels. And as you can imagine, I immediately switched my game when it came to what I know I now needed to do with taking care of myself. And that was being in tune with my blood sugar and testing it, getting the glucometer out. So how did this fear and this new priority in my life, how did it translate into my daily behavior? I was checking all the time. Every hour I was checking my glucometer. I was pre-bolusing, pretty tight. I was always ahead of the game with getting insulin on board. Again, this was still when I was doing multiple daily injections, so very hands-on. Speaking of, when it came to my care, glucometer, pens. Actually, yes, I do think I had an insulin pen at that point. I don't think I was still using the syringes. But again, you do what you got to do, right? And it was inconvenient. It was stressful. I was avoiding certain foods. Again, I knew at this point what was going to spike my blood sugar, what was going to cause me to go higher in that danger zone. Again, I put a label on it that high blood sugar was dangerous, that if I got into that mode again or got trapped into that kind of that area of what my blood sugar averages were going to be, that again, the eyes would not heal, that my eyes would continue to be damaged, and that I would lose my eyesight. So that just kept lingering. And that was something that was very heavy and just very worrisome for me. And it led my life in a lot of ways. It really caused an emotional toll, constant anxiety, tension with my family. I was married. And then fast forward, in 96 is when I had my daughter Sarah, and I was still on the same struggle bus with trying to keep my blood sugar, toting that tight ideal range line with my blood sugar every day. And that really took a toll on how it impacted my family and the frequent lows, as you can imagine, that I was having, again, because I was way too strict with the range that I wanted to be in. And this it went on for years and years. And I was exhausted. My husband at the time was exhausted. It was causing a lot of stress with my daughter, even though she was just very gracious and accepting of what mom was going through. I still knew that I was putting her through a lot, having to worry and really care for me in some points. I can remember her, having to bring me sugar in an instant because, again, mom was going low. Or when I was driving home after picking her up after daycare, where I would have to pull over and eat some gummies. Luckily, I had enough awareness, and she picked up on this as well, which is really beautiful. Our family and our friends that are close to us really do get to know how we respond or how we're acting, our behavior when our blood sugar's low. So it's very, very thankful for her just being so much aware of that. But again, I felt really guilty about putting her through that. So fast forward, this took me time to get through. But I want to talk about 3 signs, and if this is you, and it might be a different side of diabetes that maybe you are worried or over anxious about. It might be fear of lows. In my case, it was fear of highs. It might be a fear of different types of food because you've had a bad experience with them, so you avoid those things. Exercise is a big thing I know that can really mess with our thinking and our confidence. Even if you enjoy exercising, it's just the avoidance based on what it could do or how it impacts our blood sugar. So these are some things to consider. The gamut it just goes on and on as far as how, our hold on that need to do things perfect is running our diabetes. So living like that taught me something really important. Perfectionism doesn't make you safer. It just makes you more stressed. So how do you know if it's taking over, right? So how do we know? Where's that line? How do we know that we've crossed the line or that diabetes is really kind of running the show? So here are three clear red flags, things I had to look closer at, and I'm very thankful to have a circle of friends and my church family that I've been able to share this with, and obviously other people with diabetes, sisters with diabetes, that I've been able to open up and share this with. And that's really kind of given it a name, it's given it a purpose, and it's given me a reason to connect with other people and to know that I'm not alone in this. I think that's the number one thing. There's a lot of shame attached to our decisions around how we take care of ourselves. And we put a lot of stigma on ourselves about that too. So I think it's really important if we can find a community, which is what's great about my type 1 and midlife group. We do meet every week, so you stay in touch. There's things, as we know, things that may be lingering in our life that we need to talk through. And sometimes there's new things that pop up that suddenly it's really, really helpful to be able to gather and talk with women who get it. So that's what I love about our group. Again, if you want to find out more, just visit the link right here in the show notes. So here are the three clear red flags to look out for. Sign number one is you're never satisfied, even with good numbers, right? Seeing a CGM reading or a number on the glucometer of 95 and thinking, what if it goes up in the next 10 minutes? What if it goes up in the next hour? Instead of celebrating the stability where you are, because that is a good number. My follow-up eye doctor appointments confirmed my eyes were healing and stable. So I convinced myself I couldn't let go of the reins. So I correlated my success and my healthy eyes with the fact that how I was running my diabetes, how I was controlling my numbers, was the reason I was there and staying stable. So that's the tricky part, because you don't know when it's okay to let go of the reins a little bit. What's a safe range, obviously, to maintain healthy vessels? And, there's a lot of other complications with diabetes, kidneys, peripheral and neuropathy and all of that. Those are all things that we're thinking about, right? So these are things kind of in the back of our minds. So it's that, what's good enough, what's safe enough, what's a good range that's going to help prevent, and in this case, it's going to help worsening a diagnosis that I had already had. So again, this is what plays around in our head, and it's what makes us human, right? We're trying to justify and kind of talk our way through this. But I convinced myself I couldn't let go of the reins. So that was a sign for me. I didn't really know where that okay, it's okay. It's okay to let up a little bit. It's okay that I run, it's okay that my blood sugar gets up to 150 within an hour after eating. It's okay. It's okay that it stays there for a little while, okay? So sign number two, that the perfectionism is taking over. You avoid flexibility or fun because of possible highs or lows, right? So an example of this is declining a spontaneous dinner invite because the timing or the menu that you're expecting will be there, the food options isn't going to be safe, and you're not comfortable with having to gauge what that carb insulin ratio is going to be, what your dose is going to be. I can remember times like this where I would really plan my day. And I've always been a planner. I'm always trying to avoid, obviously we all want to avoid high blood sugar and low blood sugar, but I would go out of my way to make sure I got the exercise in that day. I mean, really, really strict about it. So again, I was going outside what was really necessary to control the situation. And that's not healthy, is it? Because we want to have fun. We want to enjoy life. We don't want to avoid seeing people or avoid delicious food. We want to feel confident in our decisions without the stress of it having to be perfect. And I think that's another thing to consider too, is what do we consider acceptable? What's an acceptable blood sugar? What's an acceptable range in our thoughts, in our theory about, the whole situation? So sign number three that diabetes is taking over and making you way too goal-oriented and chasing that perfectionism is you feel guilt or shame after every off target reading. And I know when I think of high blood sugar, I think this is one that I think there is more guilt and shame with that feeling. And if this doesn't sound like you, then this might be something to reflect on. But I do know other people living with diabetes that it's more when they are afraid of the lows, it's really more of it, it's a different relationship with perfectionism. It's really more fear based. It's really more just not feeling confident in this situation to be able to help yourself and to recover from a low, and again to be prepared to get yourself out of a situation. It's definitely a different mind thinking when it comes to high blood sugar. And then you think about what high blood sugar does to how we feel, right? So if we're running high, we're irritable, we're not making good, clear decisions. We're not fun to be around. So that's another thing. I think that's another thing that really influenced me because I didn't want to ever feel that way. And again, what was connected to that was damaging my eyes. So there was a lot of things swirling around with these thoughts. But if you're turning a single number into a judgment of your worth as a person with diabetes, so that is a sign, because again, it is a snapshot in time. It's just what's happening at this moment. It may or may not be a reflection of what you had for lunch, because again, you decided to eat XYZ. We decided to dose XYZ in accordance to what we were going to eat. And again, all the other factors that affect how our blood sugar responds with hormones and exercise and stress and all of that. But again, we try to make a good judgment decision. But we shouldn't be judging the result, because all we can do is make a choice. So I think this is a really, really good part of it, where you just beat yourself up because I did it wrong again. Darn it, I didn't dose the right. What did I do wrong? And that again adds more stress. It just shines the light on something that doesn't have to be that upsetting, or just the way it's going to fuel us, because I think that is really where it gets worse. It just kind of builds and it mounts, and it just adds on to it, and it just adds fuel to the fire. So when we are getting to that point where we are judging our worth and our value and our decision making, that's when it can really, really it can just be so self-destructive. So it's really important to be in tune with that. So we just shared 3 things to look out for. So again, I'm going to recap that. So number 1 is you're never satisfied, even with good numbers, right? It doesn't matter what it is, how fast you got there. You're always kind of fearing or apprehensive of what's to come next. Okay, so we're not sitting in the moment, we're not enjoying the moment, we're always just kind of anticipating what's not going to work, what's not going to be reaching our expectations. And number 2, again, this is a recap, you avoid flexibility, different dinners, social settings, and things like that, with the fear of going high or low. And number 3, again, as a recap, you feel guilt or shame after every target reading. It's like nothing is ever good enough. So we're always judging the outcome, always judging the decisions, and that can really be self-destructive. So I want to finish with the upside, because now that we've had a chance, you've heard my story and you've heard some things to consider with how or if this is impacting you. Here's some mindset shifts to break free of this. Okay, here's the transition that we can make. If any of these red flags that I mentioned sound familiar, okay, the good news is you're not stuck there. There are some powerful mindset shifts that help me break free. Number 1 is control, or I should say number 1 is not to control, not feeling that we can control it, because we can't. I love the term, and I learned this from Reva Greenberg. I heard her on in another conversation on another show, and it really stuck with me. I loved how she shared this. I've shared the same story in a couple other episodes with some guests here. But we will never control the numbers. Blood sugar will never be perfect. Nobody's blood sugar, walking around with or without diabetes, is a flat line. It just doesn't happen. So we've got to understand that and put everything into perspective. So we cannot control it, but we can make decisions that we can feel confident and secure around to influence what we are hoping the outcome will be. And that is simply all we can do. The rest is up to chance. The rest is up to God. He is a big part of this, if you're a believer like myself, knowing that He will take care of you. He's going to give us, He's going to give you and I all the tools we need to get through this life with diabetes and all those decisions we have to make every day. So again, shift number one is, instead of trying to control it, let's see if we can influence it, okay? Because control equals rigid. It equals reactive, perfection driven, right? And on the flip side, if we choose to influence this, it's very proactive. It's flexible. It's grounded in reality. It's peaceful, isn't it? An example is adjusting a meal bolus based on hormone phases, plus recent patterns instead of chasing a perfect pre-bolus every time, right? So again, it's looking at the big picture. I believe, we can definitely look at trends and seeing what our body tends to do, but it's really just being comfortable in what we're about to decide to do. And like I say a lot, the rest is adjustments, right? So I think if we can spend time just, focusing on that and being in tune with that and knowing that that is what we can influence. And shift number two is curiosity. So curiosity over judgment. So replace what did I do wrong when we're beating ourselves up for a blood sugar that went high or low when we didn't want it to and we didn't expect it to. With instead of saying, what did I do wrong? Maybe we can ask ourselves, what might be going on here? So it turns the bad numbers into data, not personal failure. So we're learning from what the response our body and our blood sugar had on this situation. An example of this is seeing a morning high after strength training and thinking, interesting. Let's watch for that pattern instead of, I messed up last night, right? So again, just reflecting on why it was different, looking at all the aspects around it, the timing, all those factors we know about it. And we talk a lot about hormones here inside this show. So just being mindful of that and create a margin of grace, that range, numbers you consider a win. Like I was saying at the very beginning, I chased the perfect because I really had no sense of what was good enough or safe enough or healthy enough in order to maintain my eyesight. And I will be happy to say that I let go of those reins finally after years of struggling with this. And now I am over 30 years post retinopathy diagnosis, and my eyes are doing great. Again, I still have the annual eye checks, I do. And it's just gratifying to know that I don't have to squeeze it so tight, try so hard, and I'm doing all I can, and my eyes are a reflection of that. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And just to repeat that, so let's create a margin of grace with our range. Numbers you consider a win, like I was just repeating myself, even if they're not textbook perfect, right? And trust that you are doing all you can to keep your eyes healthy and prevent long-term complication. God has this, and He gives me and you all the tools that we need. So I hope this inspires you to rethink not only if this is a part of what is impacting your day-to-day with diabetes and your thinking and your mindset. And if you can recognize that and admit to that and to be able to say, hey, it's time to look closer. And because I want to feel better, I want to feel more joyful with life. Even with diabetes, we can definitely have joy. There is a lot to be happy and thankful for with this disease. And let's prove to ourselves that that's possible. I think that's really, really important. So these mindset shifts, control to influence, curiosity over judgment, are such a core part of my upcoming book. Now, Hormones and Diabetes is a woman's survival guide from monthly cycles to menopause. So I am in the middle of writing this book. I'm so excited. I know this is important. These are some very important, some very vital things that we all need to maybe be able to refer to, a guidebook to be inspired by, and I'm putting all this in a book for you. And I'm going to help with how hormonal shifts, or help you with how hormonal shifts in midlife make perfectionism even more unrealistic, right? So definitely something that we, the sooner we can realize this, definitely the better, right? And the frameworks will be identifying where to focus your effort. Real life examples from women who've broken free from perfectionism, not just myself, some women that I've worked with as a coach. And I'll be offering inside the book some tools for balancing emotional bandwidth, right, with effective day-to-day care with diabetes. So I'm real excited about that. That's just a little sneak peek of what's going to be in the book. It's going to be an exciting thing for all of us. And I'm learning as I'm writing as well. I'm revisiting all the things that I've not only experienced and coached and talked about in workshops that I've led, but just getting closer to it all and see how it's all connected. And I'm going to have a few expert contributors contributing to the book, so more to share about that soon. I'll be announcing them very soon. Just so thankful to have so many wonderful women in this space that are going to bring the truth and direct honest approach to how we can age well with diabetes. And just to recap, I want to invite you to join our Type 1 in Midlife coaching circle. If you're ready to step out of perfectionism and into a calmer, more confident approach to diabetes, like I was mentioning, join us in the weekly coaching group. You'll be surrounded by women who get it, and you have real life strategies you can use right away. This is what we share. And like I mentioned, I have a 14-day free trial that is open. We meet every Monday at 1 p.m. on Zoom. And you can join our meeting to see if this is the right fit for you. And the link is right here in the show notes. And if you have any questions, send me a DM over on Instagram, again at Type 1 or Type 1 in Midlife, or email me. Again, all of those contact links are right here in the show notes. So visit that and stay close. Share this episode with another lady in the diabetes community, or anybody, actually. This definitely is speaking to everybody living with diabetes. And I hope that you got some value and that this spoke to you, your heart, and just your relationship with the disease. So just remember, you don't need perfect numbers to have a good life with this disease. You just need the tools to influence your health and the grace to let go of what you can't control. That's peace, and you deserve that. So until I see you again next week, have a beautiful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.